Today, I'm going to break down the most basic setup that you'll need in order to record audio at a professional level. Here we go.
I found myself awake in an unfamiliar space. And I can't recall just how I got here, but I'm making my escape. Cause the things surrounding me are giving off bad energy. Through the clouds I can't discern if there's some solid ground to plant my feet. But I'm stepping out and there ain't no more doubting. My mind is free to buy. No, it's my season.
What's up, y'all? Welcome back. If you're new, welcome for the first time. So today we gonna do another production tutorial. I want to go back to the beginning. I posted another tutorial recently about exporting stems from Ableton, and I am gonna later on get more into Ableton specific tutorials, but right now I want to go back and talk about the very basics of recording professional audio. And this could be for if you're a singer, if you're an instrumentalist, if you're a producer, if you're a podcaster, if you're doing a voice acting, any of these things, you'll need professional audio for them. So this is a tutorial on what equipment you'll need in order to get that done. I figured if I'm going to do a production tutorial series, it's going to pivot more into music production and like recording focus, but this first one is a little bit broader because it's more focused on just the basics. So a big reason why I wanted to make this tutorial series in general is because one of my main focuses in life really is, especially as an artist, is helping to create access and helping to expand access. I started my professional musical journey like a little bit later. I was 19, I was a sophomore in college, which now that I think about it, it's still relatively early, but that's only because I ended up going to a school that had a music program that I was interested in and that had all these resources and access to professional recording studios. So even though I started late, I understand that I have like hella privilege in terms of the access that I've had to music education, music resources, technology in general. And one of my biggest desires and drives really in growing my musical practice, but also my community, is to help give back to that and help redistribute that knowledge that I was able to gain. Don't get me wrong, I was doing a lot during school, so I'm no expert by any means, but I did learn a lot and it's definitely helped, and I feel like translated into the quality of the music that I make today. So I would love to share what I know with you all, hopefully help you in your own artistic or podcast or any kind of endeavors. I've been recording myself for about the last 5 years now. What? That's wild. With the same basic setup that I'm going to describe to you now, and I feel like my music sounds pretty good. So, and at the end of this video, I'm going to go over some free resources that I feel like you may definitely want to check out, especially if you're a music producer or are interested in making music in general. These resources will definitely be a great starting point in order to help start exploring your sound more and capabilities that you can have with incorporating different sound into your own sound. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. First thing you'll need is either a computer or a smartphone. I know computers can definitely be really expensive. You don't need the best computer to be able to record professional audio, but I would recommend getting a computer that has at least 8 gigabytes of RAM and a good amount of storage. But whether you use a phone or a computer also depends on the type of music you're making. And the capabilities of a phone might be a little bit more limited than that of a computer, but phones these days can do a lot. The like go-to kind of story about using a phone is like Steve Lacy recorded his first projects on his phone, you know, with GarageBand or stuff like that. So there's definitely a lot that you can do with just a phone. I make my music on a computer. I didn't have an iPhone or anything like that when I first started making music. I started on a Dell Inspiron. It was my first music making computer. I've since then moved to Mac, but if you do decide to use your phone, there's plenty of apps that you can use to like create beats, record audio into, and there's plenty of free ones. I know GarageBand is free. I'm not sure about some of the other apps. Like I said, I haven't used my phone really, but yeah, the phones can be pretty powerful. So you'll need a computer or a smartphone. The next thing that you're gonna need is software. Software that's used for audio recording is called a DAW. I call it a DAW. DAW, same thing. It just stands for Digital Audio Workstation. These are essentially software that allow you to record sound, manipulate and edit the sound, add effects, change the quality of the sound, things of that nature. There's plenty of free ones of these. Audacity is a really, really popular free one. I know it's used a lot for like a lot of like people who do voiceover or audiobook narration will use Audacity because it's pretty straightforward and it doesn't require a whole bunch of technical know-how, but it definitely requires, you know, some learning. All of these are they're new programs. You have to kind of put some time into learning them, but there's a bunch of free ones. I know when I was in school, the one that we used that was free was called Reaper. It's like they ask you to pay if you want to, but you don't have to. But yeah, Reaper is pretty good, pretty powerful. I would also, there's plenty of tutorials for each of these for Audacity and Reaper on YouTube. And then, you know, there are paid ones that you've probably heard of, a little bit more familiar with. Pro Tools, Logic Pro X, Ableton, Fruity Loops, or FL Studio as it's also known, Cubase. There's a bunch of them. And these paid ones really just provide maybe a little bit more options in terms of audio effects that are preloaded onto the softwares. They also may have preloaded sounds and instruments that you can use and play, but you can do a lot with those free DAWs. Stick around to the end. I'll share some free resources that you would be able to use in those free DAWs in order to get some of those sounds that you maybe wouldn't be able to get without buying one of those paid softwares. Yeah, so we've got a computer, we've got a DAW or DAW, a digital audio workstation, and then the next thing that you're going to need is an audio interface. So let me show you my audio interface. So this is my Focusrite Scarlett Solo. Ignore the big Behringer sticker on the top. That's just another audio company, but a friend got this for me when I was in college for like, I think it was like $100, and I've been using this since then. So it's been about 5 years with this Scarlett Solo. It does everything I really need to do. I don't record more than one mic at a time, so I don't ever really need that function. It only has one mic input. This is my hand, for example. It's not super big, but it gets the job done, absolutely. So technically you could use the microphone and speakers on your computer or phone, the default speakers they have there, but that microphone and speaker quality it's not meant for professional audio. It can't replicate the quality of the audio, so it's not really up to the standard. So that's why you need an audio interface. Technically, if you have no interest in recording any external sound like a microphone or a instrument into your computer, then you don't really need an interface. There's definitely a difference in the quality of playback and the music, the sound that you hear back to you when you're using an interface, rather than if you're just using the onboard headphone jack on your computer or phone. But it's not like you have to have this in order to be able to produce. I would recommend it still, just because it does provide higher quality audio playback, but to each their own. However, if you do have the desire to record audio into your computer, like from a microphone or an instrument, or at a place where you want a more polished, precise sound with your music, then I would definitely recommend getting an audio interface. So what an audio interface does, for a really quick breakdown, is it takes the analog signal from your microphone or instrument, and then it changes that signal into a digital signal that your computer can understand and read. And then it changes that digital signal back into audio that you can hear either coming out of your speakers or coming out of headphones. They also make audio interfaces that you can use in your phone in case that's the device that you're recording on. And those usually are a little bit cheaper. So if that's something you were going to record on your phone, I would definitely look into those phone compatible audio interfaces. And they can start off pretty cheap. I did a quick Google search for cheap audio interfaces, and some came up as little as $40. I saw one that was like $10, but didn't really have a whole lot of capability. So they're pretty accessible. Most of the audio interfaces on today's market are up to pretty similar standards in terms of the quality of the audio that they record and reproduce. So you don't really have to worry about that. Obviously, the super expensive ones have different preamps and inputs, output possibilities, capabilities, things of that nature that make them more expensive. But if you're just trying to record yourself, you really don't need all that. One of the cheaper ones, anywhere from like $40 to $100, would do just fine. If you want more details or information on what an audio interface is or does, I'm going to put a link at the top of the video that is to a Sweetwater YouTube video kind of describing what audio interfaces do, and they do a good job. So moving on to the next thing is headphones. Even if you aren't recording audio into your computer or phone, I would still recommend getting a pair of studio quality headphones or essentially all that means is headphones that aren't like bass boosted. The headphone jack that's included on your device, like on your phone or your computer, it doesn't have the capabilities to reproduce that audio at the highest quality or as the same quality as an audio interface. So when you're choosing an audio interface, you want to make sure that you're considering one that has a headphone jack. I'm pretty sure all of them do, but they usually come as a 1/4 inch. So a 1/4 inch headphone output. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So these are my headphones that I also got 5 years ago. They have seen a lot, but they're my old reliables. They're stuck with me, and they're gonna keep on sticking with me until I can get some new ones, okay? And even after that, I'm gonna still have them. These headphones, at the end of them, they have this output ring, and I can screw this part off, and it has what you might be more familiar with, which is called a 3.5 millimeter output. And so this one you can plug into like a phone that has this kind of jack in it or something of that nature. But most audio interfaces will have a 1/4 inch input, which is this larger size. You see here, it's kind of like a bigger version of it. And so these came with this, obviously I don't usually take this off because most of the things that I'm plugging my headphones into take this 1/4 inch, but I'll just take this 1/4 inch and I will plug this into the headphone output of my audio interface. So any of the audio that's coming out of my audio interface will go into my headphones and I'll be able to hear it there. So even if you're getting a pair that like has one of those smaller 3.5 millimeter jacks, and most of them do kind of have that 1/4 inch adapter that they put onto. So I would recommend making sure that you get some that have that adapter. I would also recommend choosing headphones that advertise having a flat frequency response. And all that means is that the audio that the headphones are reproducing is as accurate to the audio that's actually coming out of the device as possible. It doesn't have any like boosts or dips in certain frequency ranges. So it's as accurate to the actual sound that you're listening to. Essentially, it reflects the frequencies of the sounds that it's reproducing with the least alteration. So for example, like Beats headphones wouldn't be a great pair of headphones to use if you're trying to mix or produce music because they're pretty bass heavy just naturally. There's like a boost in the bass frequencies. So anything you hear, even if it doesn't have super heavy bass, is going to have slightly heavier bass because of the way that they've designed the Beats headphones. However, when you're working on music, you don't want to have it influenced by the headphones themselves. You want to be able to hear as clearly and accurately the sound that you're working on, so that if you need to alter certain frequency ranges, that you can make that and know how that's affecting the sound accurately. Prioritizing that flatter frequency response will also paint a more accurate picture of what your music or media will sound like on different pairs of headphones and speakers. Okay, so now we're moving on to one of the more essential items. Actually, all of these are essential, but now we're going to talk about microphones. Microphones are a topic of hot debate. They can range from as low as $50 to tens of thousands of dollars. Like, they get wild. People kind of go crazy over mics. But once you reach a certain point, or at least in my opinion, once you reach a certain amount of money spent on a microphone or a certain quality of microphone, the quality doesn't change all that much. It's like a taste thing at that point. Most microphones reproduce high enough quality, and most people are not recording in like acoustically treated rooms. So what that means is not only is the type of microphone that you're using affecting the sound quality, but also the way that the room you're recording in sounds also affects the quality of your recording. And most of us are just recording in our rooms. So I would say if you're just starting out, don't spend too much money on a microphone. Like, I bought my mic off of Facebook Marketplace or something in 2017. It's an AKG P220. So this is the microphone that I've been using for the last 5 years or so. Like I said, it's an AKG P220. It is really solid. It held me down for a long time. It sounds great to me. I've recorded all of my vocals over the last 5 years on this microphone. Yeah, would recommend. I think retail it sells for like $175, but I saw a post online that were like used for like as little as $80. AKG is a pretty reliable brand for microphones. Shure, SHURE, is a pretty reliable brand. Behringer makes pretty good microphones. There's a lot of good microphones. I would just say, search up good beginner microphone on Google, and then just kind of see what the results are, which ones are in your price range, which one you can work with, things like that nature. And like I said, once you get past a certain point, it's really more of a taste thing. So I would say don't stress yourself out about the type of mic that you get, especially in the beginning. It's more important that you just begin the process of like making music, of plugging all these things into each other, of getting sound in and out of your computer, making sure you can record and hear yourself. Like that's more important than the type of microphone you have, and you can always upgrade later, you know what I mean? My only advice regarding the type of microphone, I would say, is to stay away from USB microphones. They don't really increase the quality of your recording very much, and they just can't provide the same level of clarity and audio that a mic that uses like a cable or plugs into an audio interface would be able to reproduce. So we're almost at the end. So the next thing that you'll need, either to get your audio from your microphone to your interface, or from your instrument to your interface to your computer, is a cable. If you're using a microphone, you'll need what is colloquially called a mic cable, also known as an XLR cable. If you're recording from, say, a guitar or a bass, you need what, a 1/4-inch cable, sometimes called a guitar cable. You would just plug these into the input on your interface, and you plug the other side into the output of your microphone or instrument, and that's how you would get the sound to go. So let me show you really quickly. So in the bottom of my microphone, there are these 3 pins. In my XLR cable, there are these 3 little holes. So you just plug this in and make it fit on those 3 prongs that are in the end of the microphone. And then the part that goes into the interface has the 3 prongs as well. And then the interface has 3 little prongs there for you to be able to plug it into. So this goes into this part, and then this one goes into the bottom of the microphone. Let's see if I can. There we go. So you hear it click. So if you plan on recording audio on a microphone, I would just make sure that the audio interface that you purchase is able to take a mic cable and record the audio coming out of there. I would also check to make sure that whatever microphone you get, see if it requires, like I said, that phantom power or 48 volts. And if it does, make sure that the audio interface that you purchase is able to provide that power. And then the last 2 things that I would say are essential for any home or beginner audio setup, pro audio setup, is a mic stand and a pop filter. And they have mic stands of all kinds. They have ones that you can set on desks. They have ones that go on the ground that are really short. They have ones that are really tall, that are super heavy, so that you can extend them out super long and like kind of boom kind of style. All different types of mic stands. Just find the one that works for you. But you will need a mic stand just because microphones are very sensitive. So you'll hear the noise of like your hand rustling on it if you bump up against anything. Like you would be able to pick that up in the mic, and you don't want that. You want as clean an audio recording as possible. So you gotta have a mic stand. And then the other thing that you're definitely gonna need is called a pop filter. What a pop filter does is it stops what are called plosives from interrupting the audio recording. So when we say letters like p, we release air that comes out, and if that air hits the sensor on the microphone that's recording the audio, that's changing that signal from analog to digital, then it'll have a low frequency sound in it. Let me see if I can do the mic and my camera and see if it... I don't know if you could hear that, but it can get caught in the microphone and it sounds like how wind would sound in a recording. And unfortunately, if you don't prevent the microphone from picking this sound up, you can't edit it out of the sound. If you try and edit it out of the sound, it will affect the tone of the sound and the quality of the recording. So you'll definitely want to get a pop filter. The thing that I use that I put on my microphone is called a Chaotica eyeball. This essentially provides some kind of noise isolation from any reflections that would get in the mic, and then it also has this pop filter that goes in the front. So you see the pop filter, it's just like a really meshy kind of it's like a mesh kind of thing. A life hack, like a recording hack, if you don't have the money for a pop filter right now, you can like get a wire coat hanger and buy some pantyhose from like Walmart or something. They're like $8, and make the coat hanger in the shape of a circle, and then pull the pantyhose over it, it will essentially achieve the same effect. So that's all. That's probably the most basic setup that you could have in order to be able to record professional audio. Like I said, a lot of this equipment can range from the tens of dollars, $10, $30, $50 to the tens of thousands of dollars. I would recommend, even if you have a larger budget, starting on the lower end, just so that you can become more familiar with the process of setting up the equipment, getting the signal flow, like understanding what inputs and outputs need to be connected to where, so that you can make sure you're hearing everything, so that you can make sure your mic is picking up the sound as clearly as you need to and not too loud or too quiet. You know, there's a lot to learn at the beginning. And I'll be doing a lot more tutorials on things like this, so you can definitely feel free to check back in here. Also, if you have any questions about what I've said today, feel free to leave them in the comments. But yeah, I would recommend not spending a whole bunch of money on like super fancy equipment when you don't even really know how to use it yet, you know? You can always upgrade. And now the part you've all been waiting for. Drum roll, please. The free stuff. The softwares I'm going to recommend now are more geared toward music producers and musicians, but these are just some software plugins that I would recommend checking out if you want to start expanding your sound options. So first we've got Labs, which is made by Spitfire Audio. And Labs essentially is a software that has a bunch of different software instruments included in it. And those instruments like pianos, organs, guitars, all different types of stuff. They're a little bit more experimental leaning, a lot of the sounds, but they do have some really beautiful sounds on there. A lot of things to experiment with, and it's all free. So that's Labs by Spitfire Audio. The next free item that I am going to recommend is called DAWs, and this software is modeled after a synth that used to be pretty popular called the Yamaha DX7, and the software DAWs comes with so many presets for all these different kinds of sounds that, you know, you could never use all of them. There's a bunch of them. There are also presets and templates that you can download from online, or people have created their own, like when it's a synth, it's called a patch, but created their own patches for these synthesizers and created all these new presets that you can use and try out and see if they fit your music. So would definitely recommend DAWs. And then the last resource that I would recommend is freesound.com. freesound.com. So Freesound is like an open source audio sample website where people can upload audio of any kind that they've recorded. So a lot of people will record just everyday sounds. I've used a lot of samples from freesound.com when I was doing like film projects where I needed to have sound effects of people walking or things of that nature. I've also used it for music and getting samples of drums and all different types of instruments. So definitely recommend checking out Freesound. Like I said, it's free to make an account. It's free to use. Some people will just ask that you send them whatever you make with their sound, but get into freesound.com. And then the last thing that I'm going to recommend isn't free, but you can get it for as little as $10 a month, and that's Splice. If you're interested in music, you may have heard of Splice, but essentially Splice is a sample library where they have a bunch of really high quality samples. They also sell plugins and virtual instruments and things of that nature, but probably best known for their sample library. And people are uploading new samples on there every day, and they're all free to use. Free to use in the sense that like they're royalty free. So if you do have the money for that, would definitely recommend getting Splice. It is just a great tool in terms of finding new sounds to inspire you. Also, didn't nobody sponsor this video. It's not sponsored by anything. These are the things that I like to use in my practice, and I think that you would enjoy them as well. But that's all for this video. I hope that you found it helpful. Again, if you have any questions about any of the materials or items that I mentioned in the video today, please drop a comment, let me know. Also, if you made it to the end of the video, go ahead and drop a wave emoji in the comments. And let me know what you're recording your audio for. Are you a musician? Are you a producer? Are you in a band? Are you making a podcast? Are you doing voice acting? Like, let me know. I'm really curious to see what you all are working on. And I'm really looking forward to continuing to create these videos to help educate about professional audio. It can be really inaccessible, so I just want to kind of provide as much clarity about the subjects as I can. If you found the video helpful, please like and subscribe. That would help me out so much. I'd really appreciate it. I post new videos every Wednesday, so hit that notification bell. I do a bunch of stuff. I do these production tutorials, I do covers, I do lifestyle vlogs. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, yeah, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and join me in my journey. I just want to let y'all know to keep the good vibes flowing. Hope you have a great day, night, morning, evening, afternoon, late night, whatever. And I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.